What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And guys, today we are talking about the Carolina Panthers draft class. And oh boy, did they have a draft class. 11 picks, constantly trading down, constantly adding assets. I love it. I love seeing teams really trying to incorporate the most value they can possibly get. And then also to trade down twice in the second round and still get one of my favorite receivers in the class. That was super awesome. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's first look at the entire draft class as a whole. Just kind of take a look here. I'll put that graphic up. First of all, starting off with a J.C. Horn, cornerback, South Carolina. We're going to talk about all the guys that were drafted in the first 3 rounds, so I'm not going to really worry about that right this second. But I think some people were surprised it was J.C. Horn as the first cornerback off the board, and especially at 8 overall. But I mean, hey, you got to take your shot. The fact that J.C. Horn was the first defensive player off the board was certainly a shock to me, but I definitely understand it. They were able to get some great value in a Terrace Marshall in the second round, get an offensive lineman out of BYU in the third, had to replace their backup running back in a Chuba Hubbard in the fourth. I thought it was a little bit early for Chuba Hubbard, but I get the value overall. I had him as like a 5th to 6th round guy, so to go 4th, it's not super early. I loved Davion Nixon, another guy who I have a draft profile on my channel for. You can check out a deep dive on that. And then got some guys like late rounds, like a Shy Smith who out of South Carolina, who had a great Senior Bowl. I thought he struggled to separate in college, but I mean, dude put on a show in the Senior Bowl and really showed that he deserved to be drafted, and to go in the 6th round, get another guy just to add to that wide receiver core. Certainly a good move by them. Overall, I'm a big fan. Hey, also to add just some Alabama talent at the long snapper. I mean, man, how often do you see a long snapper get drafted? Especially, I mean, 6th round, that's crazy. Overall, I think they did a really good job of addressing their needs, filling all their holes, and really putting themselves into a position to be very, very competitive this year. I'm super excited for what Carolina has a chance to be in this 2021 season. If Sam Darnold can get it together and be firing on all cylinders, I mean, they were not far away from winning a lot of games last year. I think Sam Darnold's an improvement, and I think they certainly got better in this draft. But let's break down some of their draft day trades and some of the top players that they got in this class. Let's start, of course, with J.C. Horn, a guy that I think everyone knew was certainly going to be a first-round pick, but to be a top 10 pick, very surprising. Not a guy that I don't think anybody that I saw at least had as the number 1 corner in this class. But hey, it doesn't matter what the media thinks, doesn't matter what the average Joe thinks. Carolina Panthers thought he was the best corner in this class. Takes him at 8 overall. We're talking about a guy who is 6'1", 205 pounds, physical man corner, and that's what you should be targeting. If you're going to get a guy in the top 10 at corner, he better be a man corner. He better be somebody that you think can live on an island, because that's I think what you're getting in those early first round range, especially the corner position. My biggest issue with him, and the reason I probably wouldn't have spent a top 10 pick on him, was I did think he got a little bit chippy down the field. Thought he held way too much. Thought he was a little bit over aggressive at times. And if you're a walking holding penalty in the college level, I don't know how much that gets easier when you're facing even better talent on a weekly basis. So that's the only thing that surprised me. But I think they were in a situation where, okay, a trade down was certainly talked about. I think those rumors were real to an extent, but couldn't get a deal done. And if they were looking at this cornerback class, and said, man, we need one of the top 2 guys, and I don't know this for sure, obviously. J.C. Horn was definitely their number 1, but we can assume Patrick Surtain, number 2, who goes a pick later to the Broncos. If they would have traded down, like let's say Patriots want to ensure they can get a Mac Jones, let's say any other team that may have been in the market for Justin Fields at that time, who was available at 8, if they could have made a trade down work. If it was anything past 12, both those corners are gone. Honestly, if it was anything past 10, both those corners are gone. Because 9, because we had Patrick Surtain, it was a little bit of a surprise, but Patrick Surtain goes 9, then the Cowboys would have taken a corner at 10. They wouldn't have traded down. And now, I don't know that. Maybe Micah Parsons would have been the pick at 10, but I mean, maybe a trade up happens either way and it works out, but very, very likely that there's not a corner available, and that one of those 2 guys that they wanted wouldn't have been available if they traded down. And then we get into the second round where they make multiple trades in the second round. They maneuvered the board flawlessly, especially when we get into some other trades, which actually I think just now is a good time just to run through all the trades that they did. But the 2 trades in the second round, I'm gonna put those up back to back. Getting value from the Bears, getting value from the Browns, to trade back from 39 with the Bears, and then to trade back with at 52 with the Browns again, and just acquire more talent. That's why they were able to get a Shi Smith in the 6th round. That's why they were able to get a Tommy Tremble in the 3rd. Moving back twice in the 2nd, and then still getting a Terrace Marshall, who I had as a 1st round talent. I love that. I absolutely love that. And then real quick, just to run through the rest of these trades, I'm just going to throw them up on the screen for you really quick. In the 3rd round, hey, move up. The moves up from 73 to 70. Just maneuvering the board, understanding the value. Yeah, they threw in a 6th round pick to confirm that they could get the guy that they wanted, Brady Christensen. They jumped ahead of a couple teams and got their guy. You got to love that. When you're willing to move down, you better be willing to move up to go get your guy too. Played the board the way the Patriots play the board. We can say whatever we want about their draft, the players they're getting over the past couple of years. Their drafts have not been awesome, to be totally fair. But man, they play the board really well, and the Panthers really took on that mantra and played the board very, very well. And then I just want to run through this very, very quickly. 2 trades with an AFC South team where they traded 1 pick for 3. That is almost always a value, especially when you get into 3rd, 4th round picks, right? A 3rd round pick to the Texans that the Texans traded a 4th next year, and a 5th. That's a deal. That's a deal. And I'm sorry, Nico Collins is not worth 2 4ths and a 5th. I'm sorry, he's just not. And then the Titans do the same thing for another wide receiver. A 4th, a 5th, and a 7th all this year. Look, this is one of those drafts where, I mean, you could go at it with a couple different ways, but I think the Carolina Panthers looked at this draft and said, hey, we trust our scouting and our development, our player development, our scouting. We trust the pieces we have in place. We're going to take all the lottery tickets we can get. And all these teams that are scared of this draft because there was a lack of information, because of the 2020 season was so, very, very tumultuous to say the least. Yeah, I get why teams were scared. I certainly do. And I understand the teams that came into the mindset that, hey, we're going to acquire as many picks as we can for next year. And we're going to go get the guys that we really like and just be good in the 6th and 7th round. We're not very worried about that range. Panthers looked at it the exact opposite way, and I really think they were zigging when everybody else was zagging, and I think it was very, very smart. It's one of my favorite things about their draft overall. So I know I just went on a huge tangent about trade and trade value. I'm a draft nerd, guys. You got to let me fall in love with stuff like that. Back to Terrace Marshall, a wide receiver that they get in the 2nd round. Look, like I already mentioned, he was a 1st round pick. To me, he was a checks the box guy. He can play inside, outside. To me, there was no major flaw in his game, but I think the reason that he fell was medical issues, and that's not something I really realized until draft day, where he just kept falling, falls to the bottom of the 2nd round. To me, Carolina was able to acquire a bunch of picks in the 2nd round, trading back twice in the 2nd round, and still getting a guy who I really believe is a day 1 starter. And it's not even a position of need, but I have to imagine Carolina was looking at Terrace Marshall still on the board and being like, well, shit. No, he's the only 1st round grade we have left. We got to take him. We can't not take this value. Yeah, we have DJ Moore. Yeah, we have Robbie Anderson, who played really well. But, we did let Curtis Samuel walk. So why not reload and get a guy who's not Curtis Samuel by at all, but can be a very, very good player. And I imagine they'll ask him to play on the boundary. And then another element to this is the fact that Terrace Marshall is reuniting with a Joe Brady, and Joe Brady knew how to use a Terrace Marshall very, very well. That 2019 season when when LSU was able to go to the national championship and just be one of the most dominant teams in college football that we've seen in a long time. So yeah, that Joe Brady was a big part of that offensive success. Terrace Marshall obviously was 3rd fiddle at that point because Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson were on the team, but still he was certainly a part of that team, and Joe Brady's going to know exactly how to use them. So I'm really excited for that pick. Moving forward with a couple 3rd round picks, you got Brady Christensen, offensive lineman out of BYU. I think his strength think that the point of the attack is so good. Not exactly sure where he'll play. I think he could maybe transition to guard, maybe be a tackle. I'm not sure. Has quick feet. The biggest issue, just not really a dynamic athlete by any means, just okay. And I think he does struggle versus like speed on those inside stunts and things like that. Can kind of get caught up and struggles in that kind of way. Change of direction skills, not awesome. So those were kind of the big things that I noted when taking a look at Brady Christensen. And I'm not going to sit here and say I spent a ton of time, just real quick looking at him in preparation for this video here. So yeah, I think good pick, good lottery tick a little bit in the third round with an offensive lineman. Ton of really good offensive linemen in this class, especially in those mid rounds. So you have to think there's a good chance they got a stud here. And then the last guy we got to talk about. Listen, Ian Thomas has been a bust. I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it. He's been non-existent in that offense, and maybe it's just the way the offense uses the tight end, or maybe it's Ian Thomas just struggling. I'm not exactly sure. But Tommy Tremble is going to come in and try and take that spot. Lack of production, certainly. Lack of only 35 career receptions. Was used more like an H back and blocking and things like that. But has the athletic profile to be a catcher. And I know everyone who's talked about Tommy Tremble, or has watched Tommy Tremble, or who's paid attention to this at all, has made this comparison, and I'm gonna do it again. George Kittle. I mean, he represents a guy who is a physical blocker, somebody who just clearly loves to block, loves to get in the nitty gritty, and has the athletic profile to be a pass catcher, but wasn't utilized at pass catching in college. That right there is the exact story of George Kittle. Now, will he develop into a superstar tight end in the next level? Time will tell. We'll see. But certainly gotta like the possibility and gotta like the upside there with a Tommy Tremble there for the Carolina Panthers. Overall, guys, we'll just run through some of the final things that I want to talk about just to close out this show. Best and worst moves. So my favorite move, it was just their constant attitude towards acquiring picks, towards playing the board, towards just constantly understanding draft value at every single level. I mean, you talk about just like quintessential, game theory, understanding the value of your assets and using that to your absolute advantage in a situation where everyone else might be thinking one way and you're going to think another. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Carolina did, and I think they executed at a very, very high level. Seriously, I don't think they're getting nearly enough credit for all of the under the radar moves, all of those 2 day 3 moves that I talked about with those trade downs in the third or fourth round. I guess the third round was day 2 move, whatever. And then obviously everyone's going to talk about the 2 trade downs in the second round to still land a Terrace Marshall, which I think was an awesome move. I couldn't love that any more than I do. So all of those moves, I mean, just game theory at its finest, understanding the draft at its absolute finest. Love that. Absolutely love that. Worst move, man, I struggled with this. I really did. I sat here for a second. I'm like, man, I mean, there's really not, like, I like pretty much everyone they got. Like, I don't have an issue anywhere with their draft. So I'm going nitpicky. I wasn't a big fan of Chuba Hubbard. I thought there was better guys on the board. Kenneth Gainwell was still on the board at that time. I'm kind of surprised, especially like, even if like I was high on Kenneth Gainwell and he fell. So he fell hard, and I'm going to have to reevaluate that because I thought he was a guaranteed locked and loaded second round pick. I thought he was going to go in the back of the second round. He fell out of day 2 and he fell down into like deep into day 3. So to get a Chuba Hubbard, I'm not high on Chuba Hubbard. I did a draft profile. I'm not going to get into it here. So if you're really interested in that, I'll break down exactly why I'm not the biggest fan. So him in the 4th round, like I'm fine with it. Like the value was, like I'm good with it. It's a running back in the 4th round. I'm never going to hit that too hard. To me, running back day 3, even if I don't even like the running back, I'm good with that. I think every team should take a running back day 3. I think that's a great move. So to add some depth of the running back position, had no problem with that at all. But I'm going to go a little nitpicky here and be like, I didn't like Chuba Hubbard. So that's my worst move. And that's honestly a compliment. It really is. So for my grades, just so you guys know, I do it a little bit different. I don't give just 1 overall letter grade. I give 3 overall letter grades. I break it down into the players that were drafted, just purely like, do I like the players? Do I not like the players? The draft value. I think you know where I'm going to go with that. And then the overall needs. How do they address their needs? Does their team get better? All of those things. So players, yeah, A. Just a pure A plus. I think maybe there were certain guys, again, like the wide receiver they got out of South Carolina in the 6th round, Shi Smith. There were other wide receivers I liked a little bit more that played the same kind of style. If they would have got a Tam Terry there, who went undrafted, and again, maybe that's another guy I'm just a little higher on. But I'm nitpicky, and that's the only reason I didn't give A+ here. And I mean, we'll get to my other grades, but I'm pretty high on this draft altogether. But I really loved a lot of the players they got. The J.C. Horn pick at the beginning was another reason. It was like, okay, listen, I explained it already where I totally get the pick. I didn't dislike J.C. Horn. I thought he was, it can run great, truly has the opportunity to be a shutdown, a man-to-man corner. And I think that's where you get in the first round. I thought he was a first-round pick. I thought he was a top 15 pick. I don't know if I thought he was a top 10 pick, but again, that's nitpicky as hell. Overall, I still like the player. I probably would have gone a different way if I'm picking my first corner in the class. But hey, that's again super nitpicky. Draft value, I'm good with it, A+. And I know people are going to say I just mentioned J.C. Horn. Oh, he wasn't a value at 8 overall. I get that. But I mean, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place if you're going to nitpick between, oh, he was a good value at 13, but he's not a good value at 8. Like, I mean, come on. There's just sometimes you can't get back to 13, and he wouldn't have been there. He would not have been there at 11. If there was a corner, if two corners don't go back to back ahead of the Cowboys take one of those two corners. So you can say the value wasn't there, but based on team needs and what was going on, they were in the perfect spot to get the corner they liked, and they got him. So to me, that's not bad draft value. That's perfect draft value because the two teams behind them would have taken a corner. So, I mean, to me, that is a good pick. Okay, you don't like J.C. Horn as much as you like Patrick Surtain. You can say that, and I get it, but to me, like, J.C. Horn's faster. I can absolutely understand people that like a J.C. Horn more than a Patrick Surtain. I thought Patrick Surtain, and I loved Patrick Surtain too, don't get me wrong, but I at least understand the other side of the argument. I'll leave it at that. Beyond that, I don't think there's anywhere you can say there was bad draft value or really anything close to it. And then needs, I'm going to give it A+ too. I don't think this team is a team that, like, I look at that has like major needs. They need help on the offensive line. Well, they spent multiple picks on the offensive line, one in the 3rd round who I think can be a starter, another in the 6th who we'll see, but it's a guard out of Alabama. We'll see what happens there. But then it's like, okay, did you need to add depth to the wide receiver position? It wasn't my first thought, but I think it was a really good one. Your biggest need, corner, you spent in the first. You got a guy you believe is going to be a star, and then you got a tight end who I think was definitely a need there as well. You got to think of just what they did last year. They attacked defense. They drafted every single position they got last year was defense. This year they go around, get defense early, and then the next 4 picks they got was offense. Oh, and by the way, Davion Nixon, who I'm just going to talk about now because I neglected to at this point. Davion Nixon was one of my favorite D tackles in this class. They got him in the 5th round. I mean, draft value, players, wherever you want to put that as far as my grade. I absolutely loved that. But yeah, guys, I am a huge fan of what Carolina did this weekend. I think they nailed it. I think they got a lot better. I think Carolina is one of those teams, like if they're not in the playoffs, I'll be surprised. And I know that's like kind of shocking to say about a team that was picking 8th overall, was technically the 8th worst team in the NFL last year. Man, they were competitive week by week basis. To me, I saw Teddy Bridgewater consistently and frequently, just struggling to push the ball down the field, struggling to make every throw. And maybe some Panther fans won't like me saying that. I know I said it early on in the season. I got absolutely, obliterated for saying that. But man, I think they definitely upgraded as Sam Darnold. I think, that you're going to have your running back healthy this year. Hopefully he stays healthy, knock on wood. I think their defense, bunch of young superstars on the defense. They could be real good. They could be really, really good this year. I'm so excited to see what happens with Carolina. But all right, guys, that's all I got on Carolina. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. If you're a Carolina fan, let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, if you appreciate what I said about your team, you should just subscribe for that. Give me a little bit of boost. I'm a small channel, but I'm growing. I'm trying to get better every day at this whole analyst and YouTube thing. Trying to get better. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace out.